Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. And today we're doing news and week in review. Game news, week in review, all the usual things. Starting off with the only real news segment we have this week. It's a very light week as far as news, or it's a very light week as far as news that I actually have available for you. Same net difference in the end. But this week we have the Board Game Geek Marketplace shutting down, which is actually like 2 weeks old and is really a developing story, and I just haven't had a chance to talk about it till now because life has been a crazy, hectic mess, and I have not yet had things calm down yet. But the Board Game Geek Marketplace is shutting down. This is BGG. They basically, for context, what they had going on over here is they had a new initiative plan, a new initiative, a new marketplace that was coming out, and they were all gung-ho and everything was working out, and then unfortunately the developers or the people they were working with for that kind of decided that they're not continuing the project. So they don't have the new Board Game Geek Marketplace, and the 1-2 punch over there is a few days later that they updated that apparently the old classic marketplace is shutting down too. Now this is an ongoing story in the sense that they are still working and iterating upon what their options are, maybe opening it up or keeping it open as a peer-to-peer marketplace and keeping themselves out of it. I don't know the rules, I don't know the system, I don't know the reasons why. Ultimately, what I do know is it's getting harder and harder to sell your used games. Between Board Game Co. shutting down, although that's still a question apparently. We'll find out what's happening there. I think it's shutting down. I don't know. Someone's still trying to buy Board Game Co. For those who don't know what's going on, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. and I used to sort of still run a used games company that used to buy used games and is in the process of shutting down, but also may or may not be shutting down. So whole lots of developing stories and stuff around used games and the complete absence and the void, and how I don't know. There's an opening. There's an opening here, and the question is who jumps into that opening and who tries to take initiative on that system. In any case, Board Game Geek Marketplace shutting down. Right now, your options for selling your games are probably NobleNet Games, Reddit, Facebook marketplaces, or Facebook, the Board Game Exchange, buy sell group, peer-to-peer. There's still plenty of options out there, but they're getting harder and harder. And that's basically the news situation. So, used games. It's going to have an opening. Someone's going to jump into that hole because there's opportunity there. But with that, let's go ahead and dive into the other news, which is specifically around games. We have a few things going on, starting off with Tabriz. We have Tabriz over here from Crafty Games. Let me just move that over a bit. Let me just see if I can drag this. Why won't it drag? There it goes. There we go. Tabriz from Crafty Games, coming to GameFound. This is going to be coming over from GameFound from the award-winning designer of Cascadia. All you have to say is the award-winning designer of Cascadia, and Cascadia is one of my favorite games. Has me incredibly interested in Tabriz. Don't know a thing about it past the page you see over here, but I know it's from the designer of Cascadia. Will that mean that it's a great game? Not in the slightest. Does that mean I'll love it? Not in the slightest. Does it mean I'm super interested in it? Well, kind of, yes. From there, we have Her Story. Her Story comes from Underdog Games. This is the next game from, Underdog, from Tracking the History, Tracking the World, all that series. They're diving into Her Story, a family-friendly game in which you're going to be writing a book telling stories of remarkable women in history. I don't know what the mechanics are. You're going to be drafted, do research, draft chapters, complete the higher scoring book. Seems intriguing. It's not just a book about famous women. It's a book about it's a game about making a book about famous women. It's a fascinating concept as far as how they implement it. Hope to see it done well. This is coming to you from Underdog Games. Then we have Wild Serengeti. Bad Comic Games has two pieces of news. The first is that Wild Serengeti will no longer be called Wild Serengeti because of apparently some sort of conflict in rights or something. I don't know the exact details, but they have to rename the game. They're going to be renaming it to Life of the Serengeti, which is sad because if you Google Wild Serengeti, the only thing that comes up is their game, which to whoever has the rights for that, I guess they're not a huge fan of that, or maybe they are. I don't know. All I know is Life of the Serengeti will be the new name of the second printing of Wild Serengeti. But past that, they also have a new game coming up. They have Life of the Amazonia. So they're going to have Life of the Amazonia, which is not Wild Serengeti. Apparently, the only thing it has in common with Wild Serengeti is the idea of having a nature-themed game with lots of nice little meeples and 3D scenery. So it looks like they're leaning into the visual look or system of the game, but they're actually going to be very different games. It's going to be bag building and pattern building, so maybe like a drop of overlay, but it looks like they're going to be very different games. Life of the Amazonia coming to you next from Bad Comet Games. From there we have Power Rangers deck building game Get in Gear expansion for Renegade. This is a new expansion to the Power Rangers deck building game. Renegade does a lot of deck building games. They do a lot of IP deck building games, and Power Rangers is one of them that they've had for a bit. I still have my copy, still need to play my copy, still need to read the rules to play my copy. We'll get to it eventually, but they have the Get in Gear expansion from coming up as well. You can pre-order that over on the page. And then lastly, we have Hike It, the backpacking board game. Hike It, the backpacking board game, coming October 2022 to Kickstarter. This is another game, another nature-themed game of hiking around over here with the trail, the stuff, the strategy, and gameplay. I don't know anything about how this game plays for the record. I just know that we have this coming as a Gen Con. I didn't see it at Gen Con, but apparently it was a big hit at Gen Con, or it looks like it was a big hit at Gen Con. But I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by any hiking themed game, although they all currently apparently pale in comparison to Parks. Not that I've played this, to be very clear. This might be an amazing game. I just love Parks, and so I only have eyes for Parks. And Cascadia, apparently. And other games, too. But either way, that is going to be the news. So, from there, let's go ahead and close this up over here. Closing this up, and bring us to the topic of the week. Where's my phone? My phone's over there. I'm going to have to get my phone when it comes time to talk about the games I played, because I need to go ahead and grab those. But, topic of the week. Topic of the week, starting off the bat with, not starting off the bat, that's news and other things. Topic of the week is seeing what games people play, which is not really a great title. I'll figure out a better title for the timestamps and all that. But this idea to me was, and I may have talked about this in the past, it's possible. I think I might have, but I couldn't find it, and so I'm not sure, so let's dive into this. But there's a general ongoing trend, and this is a trend that affects me as a reviewer in terms of seeing what people review. It also affects me as a gamer in terms of seeing what people play, but if you're in Facebook groups, sometimes it seems like people are playing everything. People are playing all the games. They're always diving down into everything. They always have time for that campaign game, this new game, that new game. And sometimes it feels a bit overwhelming, like you can't keep up. Like you can't play as many games as somebody else can. You can't table as many things. You can't finish those campaign games. And often it's not true. First of all, it doesn't matter if it is true. Okay, great, congratulations, someone's playing more games than you. That'll always be true. There's always someone who's playing more games than someone else. There's always a bigger fish. It doesn't really matter. It only matters as far as what you get out of the hobby, your personal enjoyment. Maybe you do need to cut that back on how much you back, how much you buy, because you're not playing those things. Maybe. It's absolutely possible. In which case, go ahead, make that decision based on your own habits and your own decisions, not based on what other people are doing, but make those decisions. I totally support people who want to cut back on their spending. I know I've certainly been doing so. I've been buying fewer and fewer Kickstarters and fewer games in general. Not few, to be very clear. I still get a lot, but it's also something I always got a lot, and it is my job now, and so there's all of that. But yeah, I back fewer games because I play less of the new stuff, and I have so much stuff coming in that I have to be mindful of those decisions. But again, always do that based on yourself, not based on somebody else. But the part that sticks with me is the idea that we so often, this is true of social media in general, of Instagram photos, of people's food, of their perfect lives, we so often get caught up in seeing these tiny little glimpses and snapshots into other people and not the full picture. As a starting baseline, when you see people posting the games they played, how often is it the same person posting all the same games? It's not necessarily. But whatever the newest game is, you see someone playing that game, you see someone playing the next newest game, you see someone playing the next newest game, and it feels like the newer games are always getting played, and you're sitting there thinking, I can't keep up. And then one day you post a picture of the new game you tabled, the new game you got to play, and you post it to social media. And the next thing you know, someone's looking at your picture thinking they can't keep up. And you're sitting there thinking, I've only played one new game in the past month. What do you mean you're looking at me and being envious? But it all contributes to the noise. It all contributes to seeing what other people are doing. That general ecosystem of just seeing that constantly barraged with the new stuff and feeling like you're behind, like you're left out when you're not. We're all making choices about every single thing. We're all making choices about the TV shows we watch, the movies we watch, the books we read, the music we listen to, any single thing and every single thing that is around us. We see it being absorbed in some way, shape, and form, and sometimes it makes us feel like we can't keep up, even though we're doing just fine. And again, just fine is also a question. I know I feel this way about TV shows in general, where to a certain extent I feel like I have to give up on TV recently. And I have, for the most part. I watch a few shows here and there, but for the most part, I've sat there and reconciled myself the idea that I simply will never keep up with all the new TV shows. And I sat there and made choices about my own priorities and what I care about and what I'm going to engage in, and TV shows are not on that list. And so a whole bunch of TV shows that in theory and in principle I had this concept in my head that eventually one day I would get to, I've kind of said it's okay. I'm just going to move on from them. Maybe one day. Maybe one day I'll finish Supernatural. Maybe one day I'll finish Criminal Minds. Maybe I'll actually rewatch Stranger Things the way I plan to. Maybe I'll rewatch The Good Wife or Newsroom or The West Wing. There's so much good content, so much good TV out there, and I keep thinking I'll get to it. But in practice, in actuality, I make very little time for it, and I've chosen the things I prioritize. But we often see this. We see this with people play. In my case, I see this with reviews. It feels like everyone's always getting that first review out. You know, Dice Towers gets that Massive Darkness review up for me. They get the Oathsworn review out. I see One Stop Co-op Shop getting the newest game covered. I see all these different channels getting the newest something covered. And sometimes it feels like I can't be ahead of everyone else. But then you look at your own channel, or in my case, my channel, and you see that, no, you are ahead of them on this game, and on that game, and on this game. But you can't be ahead on everything. You can't always have everything. It feels... When you see other people kind of jumping in, sometimes it feels like you can't keep up. But more often than not, you're doing just fine. more often than not, you're doing more than you need to do, and we're just overwhelmed by the barrage of social media, by the barrage of seeing everyone else's life. And we kind of pick and choose the best parts of everyone else's lives. Not just board games, whatever it is, whether it's, I don't know, houses or kids or who knows, whatever, pick whatever conversation you want. We get to see all these other aspects, and we get those things thrown in our face, and we have to remember that there's a cost to being on social media. It's fun to share our lives, but there's a cost to sharing our lives, a cost to the people on the other end sometimes, especially when we pick and choose the best parts of our lives to share. This is really meant to be just about board games and the concept of feeling like you can't keep up, and it's getting a little bit more introspective than that, which is fine. Conversations here do tend to drift. I should do an unboxing video. It's been a while since I did an unboxing. Not that long, but just long enough. I should do a Dice Throne unboxing video. I should do that. I'm going to do that. We're going to get that done. That's a good idea, right? Yeah, we'll do that. In any case, the idea holds true. The idea that be mindful of the things you see and be mindful of how it influences your own perception of what's going on in your life. Because people are always playing something new. What they're playing versus what you're playing versus how much they're playing, that's a different conversation. But buy the games you want to buy, play the games you want to play, make sure this hobby brings you joy and not a sense of frustration or inability to get it all done. Because there's so much joy to be found in this hobby. There's so much. And sometimes we can find ourselves chasing something else in a way that just proves to be a constant chase with a never-ending pursuit that doesn't necessarily lead to happiness, it's just a pursuit of happiness. And yeah, that's board games. Again, way too serious. Way, way too serious. With that, let's go ahead and dive into Week in Review. I need to grab my phone. If you give me a second over here. Got my phone. So, let's go ahead and do this over here. Let's also mute my phone over here. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, let's go ahead and go to my notes. Okay, give me a second. Dun, dun, dun. What's going on here? An email from my mother. Interesting. No idea why I'm getting an email. Oh, I see what's going on. I see it now. I see it. Sorry, it's an email from my mother. I do talk to my mother here and there. Let's go ahead into my drafts where I can find the most recent note of the various things that I have not listed all the games I've played last week. But starting off the bat, and this may or may not cover. I think I covered my Week in Review on Friday. Did I play my... I filmed my Week in Review last Friday, which means I'm going to have not a lot to go over, but let's go over what we can over here. So, starting off the bat, we had Friday, we had played Too Many Bones, which was great. I've been diving into Too Many Bones. Was playing that over on Twitch with Professor Meg. Played Zombicide Black Plague, which was very nice. Got a chance to play Zombicide Black Plague with one of my friends who loves that game, and myself who loves that game, and Professor Meg, who's never played Black Plague. She's played Green Horde. We had The Mind. I played The Mind, which was a lot of fun. I haven't played that in a while. Almost won. It's always so satisfying, but like whenever I win The Mind, I stop playing it for like 6 months, and then I pull it out again. Barely a game, more of an experience, but always fun. I got a few plays of Tranquility in. Tranquility is a fun little game of, well, pattern building-ish. Kind of similar to the game. Really not pattern building. I don't know why I said that. It's a game of trying to be efficient with your hand as you try to play out cards. Very solid game. I really enjoy it. Then we have Paleo. Gotten a play of Paleo. Did not enjoy it at all, which is the first time I've played Paleo that I didn't enjoy it. It was just so brutal, and I didn't have the sense of accomplishment that I usually do when I play Paleo. It's the kind of game that when sometimes I play a game and I have such a bad time that it makes me question whether I should own that game. And I love Paleo. I love it so much, and this is just a bad play. And so I'm going to let it have the bad play. I'm not going to get rid of it after one bad play, but like, it does happen to me with games sometimes where I have a few bad plays in a row and I'm like, well, that's it. Now it doesn't matter how much I loved you, you're gone. But I love Paleo. I think it just worked out poorly. That I didn't feel the sense of agency I typically feel. But that's Paleo. Then we had Cape May. I dove into Cape May for Thunderworks Games. Solid game on the lighter end, but it's solid. I shouldn't even say solid. I think Cape May has an audience. I don't think as much the audience for it. I think it's a little. I don't love it. It's totally okay. Totally okay, but I would not ask to play it. Paint the Roses. Got a chance to play Paint the Roses again. The first time I played the production copy since covering the Kickstarter. I enjoy it. I like Paint the Roses a lot. Solid deduction, a lot of fun. It does have this aspect in it where you can kind of get to the end game and just lose all of a sudden based on one bad turn. That's the nature of the escalation this cooperative deduction game has, but I enjoy Paint the Roses. I got like 15 plays of Hoplomachus Victorman. Not actually 15 plays, but a whole lot of plays Hoplomachus Victorman. Diving into that one, going through that one. Should have some coverage up soon, but Hoplomachus Victorman, really, really solid game. We have Sushi Go Party. I played Sushi Go Party, which I think is the first time I played Sushi Go Party. I've played Sushi Go before, but I have not played Sushi Go Party. At least I don't think I did. I got Sushi Go Party for my kids after we enjoyed Sushi Go, and it's fun. It's more Sushi Go, just with more variety. It's light, fun drafting. Not my go-to drafting experience, but one that I do enjoy. I got a play of Cascadia in. I always enjoy and love Cascadia, although I think Acropolis from Hachette Games is going to overtake Cascadia for me, and I love Cascadia, so that's a lot. We have Quacks of Quedlinburg. Got another play of Quacks of Quedlinburg in, which is always a fun time. Never never my go-to game, but always a game that I enjoy. Played it for my daughter. Ricky wanted to play it, so we got that one tabled, and still enjoy it. It is... I like Quacks. I don't think it's amazing, but I think I always have a fun time playing it. Got to play of Mountain Goats as well. Mountain Goats is always fun. A Mountain Goats from Board Game Tables. It's light, it's simple, it's fun. It was a little chaotic because we were playing a 5-player game with 7 people at the table somehow, and so that got a little chaotic and was definitely getting to me a bit. Lighter, smaller, shorter games that don't become lighter, smaller, or shorter definitely get on my nerves a bit, but it's time with my kids, so it's good. It's just... There's a lot, seven voices playing a 5-player game is already a lot. Then I got in a play of Under Falling Skies. Under Falling Skies, always a blast to dive into that from CGE. Still a solid solo game. Still haven't finished the campaign, but I still have a lot of fun with it. And then we have Fate Forge as well. I got in a play of Fate Forge from Mighty Boards. Solid game. I really liked what I got in so far. I have a lot more to play of it before I have an actual review up, but I so far enjoyed where the game is going. As always with these bigger games, it's a bigger narrative game. The balance is, will it compete for my time with other games? And that part I'm not yet sure about, but so far I'm definitely impressed. I'm definitely impressed so far with concerns. We'll talk more about that in the review, when I eventually have that. And it'll probably be a first impressions, by the way, not a review, because of the very nature of the escalation of the content. We'll see. I'm going to keep playing it. I'll see how far I get into it. Depending on whether I feel I have seen enough, I'll either call it a review or not. But like, I think I'm going to give it like, I don't know, 8 hours. Like, supposedly what they gave me is 8 hours of gameplay, and I'm enjoying it enough that I think I'll go through it. I don't yet know where we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it more. I'm going too much into detail now. And that is everything as far as the games I played, and there's less so than usual because last week I filmed this on Friday, which means we have fewer days because of how back-to-back this was. But anyways, going from there into the week in review, starting off the bat with Saturday. Saturday I had a review of Endangered. Endangered from Grand Gamers Guild, a solid game that I've had really solid moments with and really okay moments with. For me, it's gone game to game. I like it most playing it solo, but I also find that playing it solo, I'd rather play other solo games. So Endangered with the expansion and all that, really enjoy it, but also not one I feel the need to keep. Then we have Wonderful Kingdom. Wonderful Kingdom from Lucky Duck Games, or from Le Botte de Jeu or whatnot. Wonderful Kingdom is a fun game, but one that I just prefer to Wonderful World, and I prefer the art and the theme of its Wonderful Kingdom, but I just prefer its Wonderful World in general, so that's another one that is good, but not one that needs to stay, a 3.5 for me. Then we have a Rove Interview on Sunday. Not Rove from Buttonshy Games, which is a sad, confusing little thing, but Rove from Addicts Games, with both games coming out, or they came out with Rove, or they were developing Rove at the same time the other one came out, so it led to a naming conflict, which is never great. And then we have Grove as well, to further confuse you, which is a game I reviewed last week or whatever it was, or 2 weeks ago. But anyways, Rove, R-O-V-E, from Addicts Games, which yes, you could find it on Board Game Geek. No, it's not the one from Buttonshy Games. That is going to be a Gloomhaven adjacent dungeon crawler experience from the designer who brought you Gloomhaven Crimson Scales. They're bringing you Rove. That's going to be coming to Kickstarter, looks like mid to late October. But I did an interview with them, talking about the pledge levels, the game, some basic conversations, going through that. On Monday, we had 2 back or not to back. A little shorter one this week. Even though we skipped last week, there's just not a lot to cover. We're still currently going through a bit of that dry spell at the moment, which I'm not complaining about. Saves me money. I always appreciate not buying games as much as I appreciate actually tabling and closing out the ones I have. Then on Tuesday we had 3 videos as usual. We had Dune Imperium Rise of Ix. We had the Rise of Ix expansion. I just did a review for that one. That's the one I've had for a bit and have got them. That's one I've had for a bit. I managed to get a table finally. And Dune Imperium Rise of Ix just fully adds to the Dune Imperium experience. I really enjoy that one. I think it's a solid game. I think it's a great expansion, not necessarily an essential expansion, but a great expansion that will definitely enhance your Dune Imperium experience. Later on Tuesday, we had a gameplay for Rove, very much a first kind of tutorial gameplay. We had a very limited window, so we kind of just set up, just timing-wise, he had to go to the airport, and so he had to leave, and so we had a very limited window there. We set up a very basic scenario, just enough to give you a taste of the game. Keep your eyes peeled. There'll be more content coming out for that, but I definitely recommend holding out for more content around the game, because I think the tutorial was a little too basic and didn't give you a full enough experience of how the game plays. But then from there, later on Tuesday, we had a review for Welcome to the Moon, which is my favorite of the Welcome to series. Really enjoying Welcome to the Moon. Gives you 8 different maps, a ton of variety, really solid game, a lot of fun with Welcome to the Moon. On Wednesday we had another live Q&A. These are usually happening on Wednesdays. Should be another one next week as well, I imagine, but we'll find out. In general, I've been trying to do these Wednesday 10 a.m. in general, but we'll see. Eventually, whenever there's a convention or travel or things like that, that'll be different. But we should have a live stream on Wednesday at 10 a.m. So you can check that out as far as, well, I don't know what I'm saying. I had a live Q&A, which I have every single week. Later on Tuesday, I had another interview with a designer, this time an interview with Peter Vaughn from Cardboard Alchemy, talking about the nature of the 3 different games they have, because they they have Flamecraft, they have Mission Catastrophe, then they have Flamecraft, then they have Andromeda's Edge coming to GameFound, which are three vastly different titles in my perception of like the audiences they have and the overlap they have and how they do. And so I'm very curious to see the continued growth of the company. Flamecraft delivered them a huge win. I anticipate Andromeda's Edge doing significantly better than Mission Catastrophe, but I don't think it'll be Flamecraft level big. Like if I had to guess, I'd say 1.5 million. That seems reasonable. It's the spiritual successor to Dwellings of Eldervale, which is incredibly hard to get your hands on, so I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see how Andromeda's Edge plays out, but we'll see. That'll be Andromeda's Edge. So I did an interview with them talking about the nature of their games, as well as small spoilers to other games they have coming up and other things around that. But that was later on Wednesday. Thursday was 10 games I want to play more of. This is a video that I actually filmed like 3 weeks ago, which means by the time you watch the video, I've actually already filmed and played, not filmed, I filmed and played some more of the games that I talked about, but I put that in the timestamps, so timestamps will include like, hey, I know I said I want to play more of this game, and I have, so yay me, I guess, kind of. But basically it's 10 games that I was really feeling the buzz to continue playing, and I decided to just do a video talking about games that I am excited to continue to dive into, that I've started, that I've gotten a taste of, or in some cases I haven't started yet, and some of them I've actually managed to table since filming it a few weeks ago. Others I'm still waiting, because there's always a backlog and it never really ends. See the previous conversations around having not enough games and always feeling behind and things like that and all that stuff. But that was Thursday. And then on Friday was Where Are They Now for July, talking about reviews that I covered a year ago, various things from Dune to Lords of Hellas to Great Wall, and a whole bunch more. But that's basically going over the updated reviews from a year ago and talking about those. That was Friday's video. As brings us to today. Today we should have two things. We should have 10 small box games and their single review, just covering 10 rapid fire small box games, most of which are not sticking around, one or two of which are. And then we have It's a review for It's a Wonderful World. Just reviewed It's a Wonderful Kingdom last week, said It's a Wonderful World is a better game, so let's go ahead and review that so you can go ahead and see my opinion on that one. Which brings us to next week. Next week I'm just going to reference one video. I mean, we might have a 2-back and not to back, we might have something else, I don't know yet. But next week, probably on Wednesday, possibly Sunday, but probably on Wednesday, there should be a big announcement video. We'll see. I might actually rearrange. Ooh, that's interesting. I'll see what to do. I'll see. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But either way, I'm just thinking whether I do the live Q&A and then the announcement, or the announcement and then the live Q&A. I don't know. We'll figure that out. But there should be a fairly big announcement that's very, very relevant to the channel coming on Wednesday. So things will be happening, and we'll see how that goes, I guess. But yeah, keep your eyes peeled for Wednesday for a fun little announcement that should be interesting. Should be interesting to see what happens for the future of the Board Game Co. channel over here. And then we have, that was next week, and then we have Games on the Table. Games on the Table, I have a bunch of lighter things over here. I anticipate being able to table all of these. I have a whole bunch more I plan on playing as well. This is just a small sampling. We have Nanga Powerbot over here. Just read the rules for this one. I have a whole box of Dr. Finn's games over here. I hope to dive into this one soon. We have Duos from Grana Games. Just read the rules for this one. I actually like the concept of what it's doing, and the fun part is I think you could apply this to, the concept of Duos, I think you could apply to like a bunch of Dixit cards as well. They have their own art, but I think it could be very applicable to Dixit, to Codenames, to kind of things like that. We'll talk about it more. It's a matching game. It's a matching game where you're trying to create pairs, but you want to have everyone create similar pairs. So very interesting concept. I think it could be a lot of fun. We'll play that one soon. We have Super Snipers, which I had a chance to play already. This is going to be, these two are in the prototype category, but Super Snipers had a chance to play this one already. I want to dive into the solo campaign as well. This will be an upcoming Kickstarter, a polyomino game of snipers trying to find each other. Very interesting game. Have a lot of positive things and a few concerns as well. We'll talk about it more. And then we have Power Core Call of Cthulhu. Really hope to be diving into this one this week. I just need to read the rules in it. I've heard good things. Haven't actually tabled it yet, but we shall see. It's one kind of game that I don't anticipate keeping. Generally, two-player head-to-head card games are not something I generally keep, but maybe there's an exception here, or maybe not. Either way, we'll talk about it. And yeah, just in general, I find that head-to-head games, head-to-head competitive card games, I find that once you get into like a form of almost deck building or knowing the systems, they're not as much for me. I really enjoy them, but then I don't play them with the same people, and so they don't stick around. So I don't think Cthulhu Power Core, I don't think Power Core Call of Cthulhu sticks around, but I often do enjoy them, and so we'll see. That's the part we'll talk about when I eventually get around to covering this, but I hope to dive into it next week. And that is everything. Those are all the games, the news, the week, and stuff like that. And until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you have an excellent week, and as always, I hope you have a good one.